Hey, Coach Eric here. I've got Bryson DeChambeau up here on 3D, and I've got highlighted his shoulders and his hips, and I'm going to go over and show you how Bryson works his shoulders and his hips in this swing. Now, this is from 2016, so things may have changed just a little bit. You can see that Bryson starts with his upper body about 7 degrees closed. C means closed, O means open, and the hip line is about 3 degrees open at address. Now, I'm going to go ahead and go around so you can see this from all these different angles. Okay, so you can see his right side bend, just slightly tilted away from the target with driver. And as we move into different positions here, you can kind of see how that looks from each of the positions. Okay, there we go. There's a face on and a down the line. Now, one of the things that you can see here also before we start the discussion on here is you can see how you can actually from the down the line view see his left forearm a little bit more than you can his right. Okay, so that's going to give a good indication that he's got his shoulders just a little bit closed. So as we get back into this, let's start the backswing and let's see what happens as Bryson starts to take the club away. And I've got a trace on here for the club head so you can kind of see where the club traces. Okay, as we get into the move away and get into position number 2 where the shaft is parallel to the ground, right here, you can see that Bryson's already 59 degrees closed with his upper body, his shoulder line, and his hip line is 36 degrees closed. So he's starting to create even more disassociation or separation between the hips and the shoulders. So great, powerful move right here. And gradually as we work our way back, I'm going to go ahead and stop in some key positions and stop at position number 3 where the lead arm is parallel to the ground. You can see that he's now reached a 90-degree closure rate in degrees of his shoulders and 47 of his hips. Normally, these would be 2 great numbers, great disassociation at the top of the backswing, but he's done this in just around P3, and you can still see we're still moving into the backswing. All right, so continues. Okay, we're going to get to pretty much the top of the swing, which is right about here, and you can see that at the top of the backswing, he's closed his shoulder line 119 degrees, hip line at 48. An amazing amount of disassociation, creating a lot of coil, a lot of power here. Now, as we start into the transition, and let me move this around a little bit so you can see that from different views. So there's the 48. That's how it looks from behind. And here's how it looks from the front view. So you can see how closed the shoulders are and how his back is literally pointed outside the target line. And there we go there. All right, and as we start back down into the transition, I'm going to slowly start moving this down. We're going to try to stop this into P5. And you can see because of the way he transitions and the separation that he created in the backswing, you can see that the club starts to shallow here. The red line indicates it. It's almost on the same path going down as it was coming back. But as he starts to transition and we get into P5 here, this is P5 where he's about 63 degrees closed. So things are starting to open up. Hips are opening up as well, opening up well ahead of the shoulder line. And you can see right here as I get you right about here, you can see his lead arm and how it's adducted into his body. So that transitional move that he made and that separation that he created has allowed him to get that lead arm to adduct or move in towards his body and shallow that club. Pretty cool look right there. All right, so let's keep moving down and let's stop in delivery here. So delivery being position number 6 in the golf swing, where the shaft of the golf club gets about parallel to the ground, right about here. You can actually see him starting to push up. You can see the legs starting to extend here. And let's get into P6, which is right about there. And you can see that hip line's 14 degrees open at this point, and his shoulder line is 19 degrees closed. So still got that disassociation, and we're going to see what happens at impact. A lot of tour players, most are a little bit open at impact with both the rib cage or shoulder line and the pelvis or hip line. So as we start to move deeper in, I'm going to go ahead and take it to impact, and you'll see at impact 28 degrees open with the hip line and 2 degrees open with the shoulders or rib cage. Okay, rib cage number might be just a little bit different than the shoulder line because it's a little bit lower down. So here we go, moving in, moving across, and you can see as we get into position number 8, you can see how much the hips and shoulders have opened. And you can actually see here, which is another thing that we'll measure, is you can see how much right side bend he maintains through impact. And a lot of the time, amateur golfers will lose that posture at some point in the golf swing, which is going to throw it out of sequence, probably most likely throw it over the top, but definitely going to suck power. It's going to be definitely a power leak there. And you can see as he goes through how things continue obviously to open and how much he maintains the right side bend. You can see that throughout. All right, so just an interesting look at Bryson DeChambeau back in 2016.